things. This is not an evaluative type thing or anything like this. So you know that I've been coming in all year, really. And then my feedback has been kind of like really short to the point because our schedules are a little different now, with this
Yeah.
online thing. So I just wanted to say to you that, you know, one thing that I admire about you is no matter when I come into your classroom, you have the same upbeat tone every time. And it's really motivating to me because sometimes, I get a little tired or, I feel a certain way when, students aren't turning in work, or if they're not, where'd you go? Oh, if they're not turning in work, or if they're not responding like I think they should. Sometimes I feel myself go from like a 10 to a 5, to a 5. And so I just wanted to tell you, I appreciate, that no matter what, you remain consistent and you always have this upbeat tone. And it's like, you have this pleasant tone, and it's like, wow, that's just something that, you know, I would like to model after. I want to stay
Well, thank you.
consistent
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Like you say, in the back of my mind, I know I'm here to provide opportunity. And
Yes,
that's the whole idea. And so as long as I'm providing that for them, then I feel good about it. And then I do have, sometimes, like you say, sometimes students partake, sometimes they don't. You can tell.
absolutely.
You've observed me before.
Yep,
So you know.
absolutely. So I came in and I was in there from 8:35 to like 8:54,
Hmm.
and during that time, 100% of the voice was you,
Hmm.
which I know we don't stop teaching even though students aren't responding.
Right.
So that's another thing that I like about you is because I found myself sometimes getting frustrated, like, okay, I'm gonna be quiet for a minute. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But you continue to press through, and I just appreciate that about you. You read the problem. You asked the students for an answer. No one answered. You gave the answer.
Mhm.
So I'm just wondering, like, tell me, like, how do you think it's going for you, like as far as like the student
As far as
teacher
the interaction, I
interaction?
see more of
Mm-hmm.
that, on the sometimes though, true, like you say, I do like 2 days a week. We all do 2 days a week. So the idea is on one day I'll do those group activities. I will put them in the breakout rooms and all that, and sometimes I can get them going that way.
Yeah.
So sometimes um, I'll put something in the chat and they'll get going by it. What I mean? I'll give them a little clue or something. Like say, if you saw that one class, I gave a clue and they didn't even take it. They didn't take the clue.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too hard. All they had to do was put in a couple numbers and say, okay, you got the first part or anything. So sometimes they don't want to participate,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes they do. That's what I showed Dr. Reynolds, on the like we have to go on to show them what we've been doing. So I kind of took a snapshot of that where I had some interaction with the students, going back and forth, and I showed that to her, and that came out of those days where we have the breakout rooms.
Okay.
So the most interaction I have is in the breakout rooms because I can go to different rooms. I'll send them a message, and then the message goes across, and I can see it in all rooms, and then I know who's where, and then I'll just, if they come up with ideas, I say, put your ideas in the chat, and then I'll help each group as they go along through the problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's been, all throughout the year, that's been probably where the most happens.
In the
But the
small
other days
groups.
I have to, they have to go through the material. I need that other day where I'm just, okay, here it is. You know what I mean? Because you see,
Absolutely.
on those days, like so the first days of the week, I'll let them interact and do all that. And then the second day of the week, like you say, I got new material to present. So sometimes, I'll say, okay, here's the, paragraph from the book. Whatever you think about it, I'll leave it up there for you a little bit. Then we'll put it in the chat, and then we'll move on. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I got to do. Because the material has to be presented to them. They have to have, in this case, it's opportunity for them to get the material. I mean, you can't say that I didn't show you something. You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
Because And that's the whole idea, that's where I come from. It's like, okay, you can't tell me I didn't show you this, give you a shot at it, So that's the idea. That's the way I think about it, And I know I need the one day to try and have them interact as much as I can. And when we go back to the building, that's what I'll do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There'll be parts of the time where I want them to interact. I want them to, talk with each other. What do you think the next step is? All this, And then there'll be days where I press on. I mean, that's, even if you observe me regular, that would be the way it'd be.
Yes. Yep. And I also, I would have to say another strength, not just from today, but from all of the days is like, you're very savvy with the technology. So that's never an issue. I never forget when I first started observing you, and early on in the beginning, I'm like, how is he putting all of this stuff in the chat so fast? And then I figured it out later on down the line, snip it and drop it in the chat. So I got that from you. So you're pretty savvy with that. And you always seem to, I don't know what your lesson plans look like, but I know that you have pre-planned, because from one point to the next, I can see you, smoothly transitioning from one point to the next. And not only that, you share what you have on the screen and go from there. So just wanted to call that out. So you've already kind of named, like, okay, all of us have opportunities for trying to pull these kids in. We know what we're dealing with.
Right.
I was wondering, like, so a suggestion would be, like, when you read that problem, have you ever tried to get the students or ask for volunteers to read the problem instead of you reading it, just to hear,
Sometimes,
another voice?
In class, definitely. Back in the old, building, sure.
Yeah.
But this is like, this is so different.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah.
But like you say, the situation we're in now is so different than, you know what I mean?
Yep. So I was just thinking, maybe, just to give them an opportunity to chime in, so much is not on you. Then maybe ask for, and of course, I don't know how you do your participation points, for a volunteer to read it. Another thing that came up for me was, after the problem was read, it was a large chunk. So I think an opportunity would have been good for maybe students to be able to paraphrase what you read, or unpack what it is. What is the problem giving us, and what is it that we need to know, just to get them to lean in a little bit more? Because the truth is, we really don't know, if they're with us or not. We got to kind of hope, but just to provide a few opportunities here and there, just to pull in some more of that student voice, I think would be good. And also, I have been doing this thing where people call it different things, where it's a waterfall, where you give students an opportunity to provide their responses in the chat at the same time, and it becomes very competitive for them, for some of them. And it's like, okay, you're going to prepare your responses in the chat, but we're not going to press send until, we're going to do it together. And I love to do it that way, because my students start copying and pasting other people's responses. Or they would put in the same thing that somebody else put in. So now I do this thing where when I count to 3, we're going to press send. Now, I might get 7 responses. I would love to have 32 of them, but that's not the case. But I have to tell myself, be content with, you got 5 people to respond in the chat versus none. So those were some of the things that I thought of, that I said, I wonder if I can share that with him, to see if you'd be willing to try that, so that we can aim towards getting more of the student voice in the classroom versus you are doing everything you possibly can. We need to find a way to get those kids to tap in. And I don't know, I would say, it's never too late, but just a way to flip it. So that was just some things that I thought about, that I wanted to share with you. So what do you think?
Yeah, that's not bad. Like you say, it could definitely be tried. Like you say, I try to get them to participate. I do.
Yeah. I know you do. I know you do. And then we talked about like in the very beginning, like our questioning strategies and techniques. Try to ask them more questions that will require them to open up. Like it could be something as simple as, hey, so what do you know about this information? What do you know about what was that theorem? It was called, you were working on some theorem today, stats. What was the name of that theorem, Mr. Huggy? Help me out.
So you're talking about standard error, or I mean?
Yeah, yeah, standard error. Yeah, standard area error. So just asking a question like, hey, what do you know about it? What are you wondering about it? Like, you know, based on what we talked about, just to get them to enter in some kind of way. Now they may be off base, but at least you can immediately hear who has a clue, who's totally far off, or whatever the case might be. So yeah, so that's just what I wanted to share. I needed to document the turn in for my programs, just to be completely transparent with you. If we were in a face-to-face setting, like I try to send some feedback, but it'll be like a 2-liner, you know, via email. But I figured we had our math meeting today, so I didn't have to take any away from your time. I could just use the math meeting to do it. And that's really just it. So I'm thinking the next time, I'm thinking next Thursday, next Thursday when I come in, maybe try to pick something you can, you know, try. Whether it's, you know, having them read those problems, whether it's having them to kind of paraphrase what you read, and just asking a few open-ended questions and see what happens. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and again, thank you for your energy.
All right.
All right, and I'm not going to keep you for the rest of the math meeting time.
Okay.
See ya. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye-bye.